thank you for coming today and joining me as part of our Salt Stories interviews. I'm excited to talk to you more about your experiences here at the Salt Block, which was the Claremont High School.
That's right.
When
Claremont.
you came here. So you had mentioned, what year did you come and how did you get to this space and this place?
It was Claremont Central High School because we would go to choral contests in Charlotte and nobody knew who Claremont Central High School was. It wasn't Hickory High School. Came in 1969. It was somewhat as we had viewed it back at that time, sort of a stopover to finishing my graduate school work at Indiana. And two things happened. One is I was just tired of going to college for a little bit. And
I understand that.
secondly, we ran out of money. And so...
so Hickory was a great place because you came from Chapel Hill this way,
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
And Chapel Hill's a much different place than Hickory at that time?
Well, it's still a different place
It
from Hickory.
I know you celebrate Hickory. You really do appreciate
I really do,
what we
and it was just amazing what we encountered, some of which we had heard about from people here in the community who were teachers in the music areas around the state, and some of these people were so well known, not far beyond just here in Hickory. And we came here, like I said, as a stopover, and gosh, how lucky we were.
You're lucky, and you've been here, you said, ever since. You never left.
Ever since.
You never left. So what was it like the first day that you walked into this space, I guess, or into this room where we are right now actually was your classroom?
This was my classroom.
Which I think is unique in these interviews. I've asked each person that I've interviewed, what's your favorite space? This might not have been your favorite. You might have liked actually the lounge, the teacher's lounge, a little bit better than this room, but you taught 70 kids in this room, which is amazing to us.
I had one choir. My senior choir was roughly 70 singers, and then we had another choir of about 55, and a boys' glee club of around 40, and a girls' glee club of about 55, and that was every single day.
That's a lot. That's
so
a lot of students.
It was. Then the first day I walked in, all these kids had signed up for the classes they wanted previously.
Right.
So there were far more than even 70 who had signed up for the fifth period choir. So there was some moving around of people to get where we got down to 70, but it was a little more than just a little overwhelming.
Well, they knew you meant business when you came in here as a new, had you just graduated, or had you taught music in Chapel Hill before you came here?
I did not teach. I was in graduate school. I did some teaching adjunct professor.
You were serious when you came in.
I was, and some decided that I was maybe a little too serious. But yeah.
But I bet you produced great music with those voices, the 70 voices that you had at that time.
These were amazing kids. These were amazing kids, and their love of music and the work ethic they had, because they just needed to have the opportunity.
Pushed, maybe, right?
Yeah, and they responded immediately and so enthusiastically.
I'm really amazed by how you can still name people and what they did at that time and where they went after they left Claremont Central High School and started their lives in other places, and your connections. I think that's an amazing trait of a wonderful teacher and a conductor as well.
No, they were just such great kids, and so many of them, not so many, but a number of them went into music and have done so well. And I do keep up with some of them who were in the choir, in the choir at the time, and it's very special for me.
Very special. So teaching in this space, and you said you actually you were an administrator. I haven't interviewed a teacher in this process yet. A lot of students, but not a teacher. And I guess your perspective of the world at that time is a really great part of what we can bring out in these interviews.
It's very interesting. Number one, it was the height of the Vietnam War. And that had an impact because it was so in the forefront of what everybody was thinking. And even these young people, when they became seniors in 71 and 72, and what's going to happen after they graduate from high school.
Right.
Will they be going into the service? And that was one issue. And the other issue, which is really a real positive issue, is that integration had started just about 2 years before I came. And it turned out to be, despite all that we think about and all the things we hear, it was a really good experience. Great kids came here from from Ridgeview, excuse me. And
probably really good musicians as well.
Oh, just terrific musicians, and the attitude. You know, it's like I've said so many times about music in general, is that, in my opinion, music is a universal language, and I think choral music even goes beyond that, because you can verbalize what you're saying, not just play it on an instrument or whatever, but you can verbalize. And when you look at text of music, you can see how important music is. And so many kids, all kids came from different aspects of their lives. You know, I didn't really know all of them. I knew a lot of them. And suddenly you find yourself sitting beside someone, and you're making music together, you're singing, and you say, gosh, I really like her voice, I really like his voice. And then you start talking. And then you let the music sort of take over, and you get so excited because you see what music can do to bring people together.
It's a relationship builder. It really
truly is.
I think back about how you chose the music they would sing as well. You were probably in your mind thinking, well, we can do this, we can do that. But what I know of you, Don, is that you wanted to put something in front of them that would probably make them even stronger together, as far as music's concerned.
I thought about that much. Yes, it
couldn't have been just the basic thing, because you had to make sure that it's team building, in all those aspects. Choral music is team building.
It is, and one of there's so many ways that I could think of that was team building, but there's one that sticks out in my mind. Between the four classes I've taught of choral music, had a boys' glee club. We called it a boys' glee club back then. And the 2 concert choirs, there were 75 to 80 young men who were singing.
Yeah.
And I thought we should do something and have a concert just for men's voices. And so we had a concert at P.E. Monroe Auditorium. And we did a work by Randall Thompson called The Testament of Freedom, which is a very strong, patriotic work, 30 minutes long.
Wow.
Memorized. And these guys, these boys, as I called them back then, they decided that they wanted to wear tux. And I will tell you, there weren't more than 15 in there that could afford a tux.
All right.
But this community stepped behind this and helped these guys rent tux for that concert.
That's a great story.
And it was, talk about a building block.
Right.
These kids were just amazing.
So it was a time in our history, but it was also a time just to make sure that everybody here was good and happy and doing great things as well. And you talked a little bit about the administration, that you felt very supported by those that were your higher ups here as well. No
question. Gene Miller was a principal the entire time that Tony and I were here at the school, and he was very insightful. He had a way of viewing every student for what they could be and
Wow.
what they could give, and he was very mindful that everyone needed that opportunity to be heard. And that was a remarkable individual who did what he did.
Well, that was supporting of the students, but also probably of you. And if you needed anything, you could probably go to them at any time.
He did. He had no problem. He supported me. He supported Frank Barger. He supported all the other great teachers that taught here when I was here. And he had a way of getting beyond the surface.
Gotcha. So you actually, you said your last year of teaching was the last year here?
Yeah.
That the building was a high school, correct?
It was.
And then, so tell me a little bit about your transition after being a teacher in the community.
It was very interesting. I really didn't think about leaving music until that third year, the last year. And going to the new high school, I was a little disappointed that they didn't have a choral room. And I had taught some students, two brothers, who I became close to their father and mother because in 1971 we took 76 kids for a 20-day concert tour of Europe. 20
You took care
days
of that many?
And I was only 26. Stupid me. And
that was an experience, I'm sure.
This is where the community comes in.
Yeah.
It was going to cost for all the students to go roughly $70,000. $70,000 in 1970 and 71.
Think about what that costs today. Yeah.
And the community got behind this in a way you can't possibly imagine. And the deal was, and I said this to the parents and I said it to the administration, any student who wants to go and works to go doesn't necessarily have to pay the entire amount.
Oh.
So it was we all go or no one goes. And so that was roughly $70,000. And this community got in behind and supported what was going on. Wow. So we took 70 plus kids for 20 days.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it was a little overwhelming. I lost a lot of weight. But anyway, it was a great trip. And just here again, I'm repeating myself, but it does, again, confirm how this community was. And it was sort of interesting. We were about $10,000 short. And one of the people in Hickory who was very strong supporter of the arts and strong supporter of Hickory, he made about 15 calls, and we had that $10,000 in 2 weeks.
Wow. What an experience for the students, too, to go somewhere different in the world and be able to sing as well. And so then you went to work for?
Hickory Springs at that time. And the reason I did, because the father of the two boys I was teaching, became the financial director of this, and we became friends.
Right.
And at some point, conversation came to, if you ever decide you want to leave the music world, which we hope you don't, we would certainly like to talk to you at Hickory Springs. So that transition came about, and I was there for 40 years.
Wow.
And I was very lucky. I worked for a great company, great family-owned business.
A great company in our community.
And so very supportive of this community in so many ways. And I was a lucky one.
And then when did the Choral Society become part of your life?
1978. The community was doing a Christmas performance of Messiah, where the churches came together, the choirs from the churches came together, and they did the first part of the Messiah. Oh. And I was asked a couple of times to do that, even though I'd been gone from the teaching world. And it was from that experience that a lot of the people in the choir for the Messiah said, why can't we do something a little bit more in an informative way? And that's how the Choral Society started in '78. And
the rehearsal hall that you taught the Choral Society in is just across the hallway here, and it's named after you now. You had such an illustrious career with the Choral Society. But I think what's neat is some of the people that you taught were in the Choral Society with you, and they continue to be your friends today, even past, that generational change from being from one thing to the next, and you're still a big part of their life and their families and everything. And aren't we unique to have a choral group like the Choral Society?
I tell you, at that time, who would ever have thought that this community would support this and the people committed to it would do what they did? It wasn't the conductor. It was the people in the chorus and the people in the community who made this what it is. And yeah, I can say that I think the Choral Society did a pretty good job. And there are not many voluntary choral programs that choirs in the state that have been around as long as this.
Great caliber of musicians and music that is you talked recently in a Rotary meeting about the Requiem and how that piece was so important to music. Can you want to speak a little bit about that on film with us today?
One of the things the Choral Society here again did that was so unique was support new compositions. And we had commissioned a couple of works and been very successful. And I had learned about this young composer who lived actually in Greenville, South Carolina. And he was writing church anthems that were just really exciting. So I approached the board to see if they would consider approaching him to do a composition. And they said yes. And I talked with him, and he agreed to do it. We decided we would do what we call a major work. It was 30 minutes or longer. It was called the Requiem for the Living, as opposed to the Requiem that we normally think about as it's a mass for the dead.
Right.
And here again, the community came through. One of the strong supporters was the Milholland family. And I spoke to Sue Milholland and said, would you consider underwriting the cost of this? And they did. And this work has become the #1 major work performed throughout the world. It's been performed in 6 continents, and it is the premier work.
And that's Hickory touching so many different places in the world through a piece of music.
Yeah. It's nice for these people in the community to see that anytime someone opens a score, whether it's in France or whether it's in South America or whether it's in Asia, the top of the first page says, commissioned by the Hickory Choral Society for the 35th anniversary.
Wow.
Hickory, North Carolina.
So we make an impression throughout the world. I think so.
You'd be surprised the number of people who've sent notes to the Choral Society about that.
And the Choral Society's traveled all over different places and actually performed in different parts of the world as well, which is interesting too. So we're so lucky to have the Choral Society as a resident organization here at the Salt Block. When we talk about science, art, and literature together, it's really music is the arts very much, and the symphony is a big part of that as well. I think it's interesting to hear your perspective of this space and the building, the Salt Block building, when it closed, and how it sat here for so long, and then how it was resurrected to be this space that we have today. Do you want to talk a little bit about your perspective of that?
Here again, I could go back to the community and the people in the community and the foresight that they had, appreciation of the arts, the literature, sciences. It's just incredible. And when that momentum started to build, I fortunately was somewhat connected with it at that time and involved in it. And it's just been amazing to see what has come out. This is the gift. And I do know people in this community appreciate it as a gift. But this is the gift. And from my standpoint, the Salt Block and the Salt Block Foundation, not just the foundation, but the Salt Block and what we have here is the foundation. But while we have what we have here, and it's so important that we celebrate it and support it, because the affiliates who are here would not have this facility or any facility close to it if it were not for the Salt Block.
That's right. And then we're so lucky to have you help us in our committee work, the foundation committee work out in the community, to try to just make it people more aware of what the Salt Block Foundation does, that we take care of the things that might not be so fancy, like the HVACs and the painting and the maintenance and cleaning, but what that does is opens up this opportunity for these organizations here to be able to spread their wings and do great pieces of music, perform in different places, have wonderful art in the art museum, teach classes in the science center. That is so vital and important, because we're very unique in the United States as to who we are and what we do as well. It's something to be celebrated.
You darn right it is, and it's not just a small group of people who have made this happen. It's a large group, and it's exciting. The Choral Society will have a summer workshop here for children ages grades 4 through 6 and 7, and to see all these kids here. Drive by here on a morning when these kids are coming in from 4, 5, 6 counties away, going to the Science Center.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on of things that are going in and around here, and it's because of the Salt Block.
It's about the people too that are inside it, and that's again why this story, why we started doing this, because I thought more about, of course, everybody hates the word COVID, but we sat empty for so long, and there was no one in this space. And I can remember when we were finally able to open back up to the public and hearing the voices and hearing the clamor of feet, that's a necessity to this space being what it is, and having the public here is so important.
It really is.
And we're just, why we're doing this is really just to tell people more, because we want to be able to have this space here for so many, many more years than what we think about. I hope it's here whenever I'm not here, but that we can still provide music in the community and do great work through these organizations. It's vital that we're a culture together. Just like music brings people together, this space is about bringing people together.
It truly is. It truly is.
So is there anything else that you want to talk about today as we kind of wrap up this interview? I know I didn't give you notes and points because I wanted it to be a fluid conversation between the two of us.
I just say that there's just so much going on in this community, not just Hickory, but in Catawba County and the Unifor area, that is amazing. And certainly we're a microcosm in some respects to Charlotte or Winston-Salem or to Asheville, but that microcosm that we are speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
They need to be coming this way, not going the other way.
And there's darn good reason to come this way.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Don, and we're excited to share this. This is going to actually be a December video that we will release at the 1st of December, which will be very appropriate to Christmas, and that's when people definitely think about the Choral Society. Right. And I know that Ryan will be doing a wonderful concert, conducting that concert at Corinth, which is a tradition, in our community, and he continues to really build the Choral Society in such a great way.
He will, and he is.
And he is. That's right.
You have to think about places where you talk about things. Corinth. Think about how they opened their doors for so many things, arts related.
Right.
It's amazing. This is part of that community.
Huge part of that community. Thank you so much for your time
Certainly.
today. We're excited to share this with everyone.
Thank you.